But you know what? At least on the other channel, on one of the big networks, we have a highly rated program about a wrestler, and we actually even see him wrestling sometimes. It's just that it's not a wrestling show. But more people are watching that than any of the wrestling shows. As a matter of fact, I heard Young Rock is NBC's highest rated comedy. And that both shows you how little appeal that wrestling has these days, that shows about the childhood of a famous wrestler get better ratings than wrestling shows. And it shows you how fucking far the networks have fallen. That this is now I Love Lucy, MASH, Seinfeld, Young Rock.
Which isn't funny at all and is not entertaining at all. It's a horrible show.
Actually, this one was funny this last week. It was fucking hilarious.
There's a reason they've chased people off to cable. It's because network comedy is the lamest shit. And if they call this a comedy, I don't know what it is. It's not really a drama. It's not really a comedy. But it's pure suck. And it's an awful show.
A dramedy. That's what they call the things they can't figure out what they're doing, and they try to make them everything. But this episode this week was hilarious. You didn't even have to turn the sound up. Because this episode covered his first match in Corpus Christi, Texas. I was there. So on this one, I can speak firsthand. Colt Cabana played Steve Lombardi, the Brooklyn Brawler. And he actually didn't look too far off from what Lombardi looked like back in those days. So that, believe it or not, Colt Cabana was the star of this show. He was the best actor and looked the most like the person he was portraying.
And that was the last time we're going to see Colt Cabana on TV for the rest of the year.
Well, because he's the Brooklyn Brawler, and I don't think Brawler figures into too much more.
Well, also because it's the first time we've seen Colt Cabana on TV all year. Does anyone use him on TV?
Oh, you mean the other TV show? No, I think he gets Tony's check, but I don't think he needs to show up anymore or anything. But anyway, that's where the string of winners ended. Brian, you got to go back just to see the facsimiles that they came up with for everybody. Now, first of all, the Brawler picked Rock up at the airport, which he did, and he was his opponent that night also, which he was. And they get to the building, and I don't know what building they shot, but it wasn't the old Coliseum of Corpus Christi, because I've worked that building for World Class. I worked that building for Crockett. That was the Clash of Champions where Mascaras worked with Cactus Jack. And I was there on this particular night, and that wasn't the old Corpus Christi Coliseum. And they said, oh, it's sold out, 15,000 fans for Rock's first match. The whole story was he was nervous because the first match ever in front of people on a WWF show in front of 15,000 people. It was sold out that night, but the old Coliseum Corpus Christi only seated about 6,000, give or take. So that's what it was. And I got to be honest with you, I always liked working that building and working Corpus Christi because it's a fucking pain in the ass to get there. Even if you live in Dallas, it's almost 500 miles to Corpus Christi. You got to fly from almost anywhere. But once you get there, it's beautiful. It's on the ocean. Not only is the Coliseum right across the street from the ocean, but also like 4 blocks down was the Holiday Inn. All the boys stayed. They had incredible room service with seafood. And once you got there, you could like relax and have a nice, decent meal, a nice room. All the girls knew where the hotel was, and you're just 4 blocks down from the building. So that was good. Back to Rock's first night. Michael Hayes. I swear to God, I wish we had a Stephen P. New spot because this would call for it. Michael Hayes, if he still had the gumption of a free bird, would either sue or physically attack the motherfucker that they claimed was him. Not only was he using a horribly exaggerated Southern accent, something that, it was more South Carolina than Pensacola, but it's something that somebody without a Southern accent would make up as a Southern accent. And he was 5'6". He just looked like some little short dumpy fuck. And they called him Michael Hayes. The Iron Sheik came in. I don't know who he is, but he was dressed better than the real one. He had a beautiful, spotless, immaculate suit and all this jewelry. The real Sheik would come in with that shit that had been down the road for a year or two. Steve Austin is played by Luke Hawx. You've heard of him. He's a guy in Louisiana that also does stunt work in the movies, and he's a wrestler. And I gotta give him something. He looks absolutely nothing like Steve Austin did or does, but he talked just like him. He put the work in. Sounded, if you closed your eyes, you could hear Austin's cadence. Triple H. You've had to have seen a picture of the Triple H. They put it out on Twitter.
I saw a picture of like a locker room scene with various people. There were a few I couldn't figure out who the hell they were.
Yeah. Well, Triple H looked like a cover of a crossover magazine where Blue Boy met Fox Hunting Weekly. And I started to realize then why the guy they got to as Mick Foley, he didn't look too bad because between the long hair and the mask, you can't really see him, right? Because he was Mankind then. The Undertaker looked like one of those United Kingdom tribute tour ripoff poster Undertakers, right? Like he's fucking 6'2" and emaciated, but he's got long hair and a hat. And Bruce Pritchard was a character on the show at Gorilla Position, and they didn't even try. They just hired some fucking guy and called him Bruce Pritchard. Not even anything remotely looking like him, same color hair, any kind of dress, manner of speech. They just found some guy doing valet parking, said, "You're Bruce Pritchard."
You see that WWE Evil thing? Bruce Pritchard looks like Calvert DeForest lately.
Well,
Larry Bud Melman?
Yes, I know who Larry Bud Melman was. Calvert DeForest, David Letterman's most entertaining fucking recurring regular for many years until he couldn't leave and go to CBS and keep the name.
Other than Chris Elliott, yes.
Well, I still liked Larry Bud. But the point is, I realized watching this show why that not everybody can be a big wrestling star. Because every once in a while they'll find one. They found a guy that looked kind of like Bam Bam Bigelow, right? And the guy that they've got playing young Rock around the era of his first match ain't too far off. But most of these guys, you can't find people that look like any of these guys. That's why they were stars, because they didn't look like everybody else. They didn't look like normal people. And it's just so awkward recreating that. Not only this is not just because I know these people in real life, as they say. This is because everybody knows what these people look like that are watching this show. And it's got to be, what the fuck? It takes your mind off the story they're trying to tell you when you're sitting there going, that's not Triple H. This guy's head was the size of Triple H's nose. In other words, he had a normal-sized human head.
Oh, I thought you meant he had a big head.
No. He had the whole head was as big as Triple H's nose.
Oh.
Triple H's head is as big as this whole guy. And then the only thing about the actual match is they presented it as if the people were just hostile to Rock and didn't care and were sitting there, and then suddenly, because he sold Brawler's chin lock and got him into it, then they cheered him for his comeback. This was not, the people who knew. We knew he was going to be something. I was impressed by this, but then the time that I called Vince on the phone and said, hey, he's going to be your champion in 5 years, was after the first time after this that I saw him work out with Dr. Tom and some of the other guys at the studio, when we could talk and I could see a little more, but we knew that he had the size and the athletic ability and the genealogy, and he did a good job here. He was very advanced for a guy who had never had a match in front of people, but it was a regular dark match in Corpus Christi, Texas. It was babyface versus heel. The people booed the Brooklyn Brawler, and they cheered the guy that was wrestling the Brooklyn Brawler. Not like Steve Austin or The Rock, but they cheered him like they cheered all the baby faces back then that were wrestling the heels. And because it was the first match of the night, it's not like they had been worn the fuck out. So the match was fine. It wasn't earth-shaking. You could see that he was special or going to be special, but there wasn't some aha moment where the people suddenly went from, we don't want to see you at all, to tearing the house down. It was nice cheers. But that was the episode of Young Rock this week. Aren't you sorry you missed it?
Like I said, there's a reason why people don't watch network TV anymore. There's a reason why kids don't watch TV at all. There's nothing to watch. If there was a show that was hip, that captured an audience, there'd be some buzz about it. There's never any buzz about Young Rock. It's a terrible show. It's lame. It's not funny. It's not entertaining. Historically inaccurate in miraculous ways at times. Just a waste of time.
Okay, maybe you might know this, because there was one hilarious thing that would actually probably only be hilarious to me, you, and possibly the listeners of this program. There's Rock sitting down talking to Austin, and they had their initial meeting and conversation, and somehow, I can't remember, but somehow it comes up, whatever somebody else was wearing, the outfit, the gimmick, outlandish, whatever, and Austin said, "You think that's bad? Look at that guy." And then they pan over, and there's Mantar with the bison head on, trying to figure out how to get in the door. And he can't get in the door. He's trying to turn sideways, bonk. He's trying to turn this way, bonk. And he's trying to bend over, bonk. And that was, to me, that was kind of funny. But the only problem I'm thinking is, in February of 96, was Mantar still even there? Or did they just decide to put that in as a sight gag?
In February of 96 for the dark match. I don't remember if he was still there or not.
Well, in February 96, that's when Rock had his dark match in Corpus Christi. I believe it was February, wasn't it? But Mantar, because I was not on the creative team that infamous night that I managed Mantar, because I didn't know about it until 30 minutes beforehand, and Bruce was ribbing me. Probably see if I'd walk out or go along with it. I should have walked out. It saved me a lot of grief later in life. But that was in 95. And Mantar didn't last that long. How long did Mantar last?
I don't know.
I can't remember more than 3 matches. And the one I was at ringside for, and 2 others that I unfortunately witnessed. Anyway, well, somebody out there in the audience can do that research. Was Mantar in Corpus Christi that night? So that Austin could point out to the Young Rock that he couldn't get his fat head in the fucking door. What else we got? Young Rock. I think you've made your feelings on Young Rock abundantly clear. And the problem is the name Rock. You've got Man Mountain Rock. You got Kid Rock. You got Young Rock. You know the big star when it comes to the Rock family, don't you? You even got the Rock and Roll Express, but I'm talking the big name Brian and the Rock family.
You talking about RockAuto.com?
Well, I was thinking you might say Danny Garcia, and then I'd say, no, it's RockAuto.com, but you beat me to it, so that's what I'll say.
I go to RockAuto.com all the time to see pictures of The Rock giving auto to people.
Giving auto to people? Is that like
auto.
giving head to people?
That's what I call it now. The Rock gives auto. He gives
good auto.
Downtown Bruno gets auto. Haku gets auto. Whenever there's a cameraman, there's a car to be given out.
Well, but now, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Is the cameraman there to record the truck being given out, or is the truck there just for the cameraman?
I feel like The Rock's kind of like a Dallas Page with a budget. He always has a camera guy ready to go and film something.
Hey, Mom, come here. I got a truck. And she said, wait, let me fix my hair. Anyway, folks, if you'd like a car or truck that runs and you have one that doesn't or is about to peter out, and after all, it's always better to peter in than peter out, well, you got to go to RockAuto.com to get the lowest prices on the latest parts from the newest models. And that's what RockAuto.com does. Why would you choose to spend 30%, 50%, 100% or more for the exact same auto parts at a chain store or new car dealership than you will at RockAuto.com? Why would you do that? Because you're a blithering fucking simpleton. That's why. That's the only reason I can come up with. Because normal people would choose to pay less for the same part, and that's what you're going to get here at RockAuto.com. They've got everything for your car, truck, boat, plane, train, sled, or other motorized conveyance. Don't even get me started on the tricycles, the unicycles, the bicycles, and all the other cycles that they've got. Your monthly cycle. They've got parts that will fit everything, even in such a constricted location as that. Folks, whether it's for your classic car or your daily driver, you'll get everything you need in a few easy clicks. It will be delivered to your door because the RockAuto.com catalog is unique and remarkably easy to navigate. You just sit right down on that catalog, you put up the sail, you start the engine, and you navigate that thing right through the treacherous waters of crooked auto parts dealers onto the island of accomplishment after you have got your part and you put it in and your car didn't blow up and it runs. Try not to run over anybody or potentially run off the road and need more parts. I don't know where I'm going with this, so I'll go back to rockauto.com. All the parts your car will ever need at reliably low prices and an amazing selection. Write JCE in their How Did You Hear About Us box on their aforementioned website, and they will know that we sent you. And then we will be suitably rewarded. You will get nothing. That's JCE in the How Did You Hear About Us box. RockAuto.com. All the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto. Boop.
.com.
.com.
What was the
Well, they don't say it all the time. It's on the commercial. All the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto. Boop.
.com.
Well, there's a .com on there, but you don't have to sing it every single time. I like my commercial singing.
All right.